Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today I'm going to be showing you ILNP's first winter release of the season called Eternal. This is a 6-piece foily ultra metallic formula that has this linear holographic sparkle, all inspired by the elegance of winter weddings. I know it is super early to be reviewing winter collections already, but I will save more of my thoughts for the end after some comparisons. For now, let's just get into the swatches. The first polish we have is Crystal, which is described as a light champagne gold with a reflective silver metallic flaky and a holographic sparkle. I really love this one. I'm just a fan of any kind of champagne gold, and I think this one is just so delicate and perfect as a winter neutral. This one definitely was the sheerest though, likely since it is the lightest color of the collection. So while the formula was super smooth and easy to apply, I feel like on 2 coats you could still see a little hint of nail line, or maybe they were just bald spots, but maybe I was just being picky considering my nails are shorter here, but I would call this a 2 to 3 coater depending on your preference. The next polish is Frosted Rose, which is an icy rose with the same silver metallic flakes and holographic sparkle. So since these all also have the same finish, I found that the formulas were pretty consistent across the board, where they were easy to apply, just a little sheer on the first coat, but I found the majority of them actually built up perfectly opaque in just 2 coats. It was just the first shade Crystal that I feel like could need a 3rd coat. So as far as this one goes, I do like it, but I don't love it as much as I was hoping I would. I think for being called Frosted Rose, I would have preferred if this was a little bit more pink versus purple, but it's romantic either way. Then we have Forever, described as a vivid emerald green with the same metallic flakies and hollow sparkle. This is definitely the most vibrant color of the collection, but it doesn't feel too out of place since it has that same foily metallic finish. And I found this one also had really great coverage on the first coat, where it was a lot more even compared to the last shade. Still not 100% opaque though. I definitely would recommend doing at least a 2nd coat, but I don't think you would need more than that unless your nails are a lot longer. And while this one is pretty vibrant, I wouldn't have thought to call it an emerald, but I guess I can see it. I would have just called this like a teal green, where you can see it definitely has these pretty strong blue undertones, which I think makes it so perfect for winter. Up next we have Snowkissed, and this one is described as a pale icy blue with the same metallic flakies and holographic sparkle. I thought this one was just so pretty, obviously giving immediate Ice Queen winter vibes. Again, it had the same kind of formula that was super smooth, easy to work with, pretty even coverage, just a little sheer on the first coat, so I feel like it looks a little more silvery, but once you do build it up in the 2nd coat or a 3rd coat if you prefer, that's where you really see more of that pale icy blue color, which I think is just so pretty. Then we have Winter Dream, which is described as a lavender blue with the same silver metallic flakes and ultra holographic sparkle. I think I would say this is one of my top favorites from this lineup. I just think the color is so beautiful, especially for winter, and I love the name of it too. I think the color description is pretty fitting, being called a lavender blue, because when I first saw it, I thought maybe it's like a darker periwinkle shade where it's almost like a blurple, but definitely more on the blue side. I feel like this one is pretty vibrant too, kind of similar to Forever. And rounding out the collection, we have Love Spell, which is described as a soft lavender with that same silver metallic flaky and hollow sparkle. This is definitely another favorite from this lineup for me. I just love icy lavenders like this, and I was especially craving them last winter, if you remember my winter favorites. So I feel like this one can easily fit into my wheel, and you're probably going to see it in my upcoming wheel for this year's favorites. I would say this one was the most similar to Snowkissed, where on the first coat, because it's a little sheer, it looked more silvery, but you see more of that beautiful lavender color on the 2nd coat. And here is the Eternal collection worn as a skittle in 2 coats each in direct sunlight, and it just looks so soft and beautiful. I'm wearing both Snowkissed and Winter Dream on my thumb, since I would consider Winter Dream more on the blue side, where it's similar to Snowkissed versus Love Spell. Here's a quick little out of focus clip to show you that beautiful holographic sparkle. I feel like it is a little subtle compared to some of ILNP's other holos, but it's still a really pretty combination kind of finish. But yeah, back to Snowkissed and Winter Dream on my thumb. I feel like obviously in lower lighting, it's easier to see the difference in the base colors, where Winter Dream is a bit deeper, but because it has that foily ultra metallic finish, it just catches the light so much that it kind of ends up blending into Snowkissed. Now onto the comparisons. We're starting with Crystal, and I first wanted to see this next to Sandbar, which was from the Under the Sea collection last year. I just remember that one being so sheer that I thought it would be similar, but that one's really too warm. I think a closer color would be Teddy from this year's Velvet collection, which is a magnetic, but I will be showing it unmagnetized. And this color also reminded me of Holo Taco's 50 Shades of Greige, but that one is just a linear holo, so there's no extra metallic kind of finish. But you can already see from the bottle alone, the base colors are actually pretty similar. So not that they are exact dupes, again, because Crystal just has that foily ultra metallic finish. It's a little bit more cooler toned, and the holo is obviously a lot more subtle, but I feel like it does look closer than Crystal does to Teddy. And lastly for Crystal, I wanted to show this next to Holo Taco's Haute Couture, which was a crushed holographic formula that I thought would be a little bit more visually similar to the finish that Crystal has, but they aren't quite there. I mean, I think Holo Taco's is just a little too sparse, which I know it might not look like it on the first coat, but once you do the second coat, you just see more of the base color coming through with Holo Taco, and that one's a little warmer anyway, so yeah, definitely not dupes. Then for Frosted Rose, I wanted to quickly show this next to Pink Suede, which was one of the magnetics from the Velvet collection. That's kind of the pink I was hoping Frosted Rose would be. You can see just how purple it leans here. For an actual comparison, I was immediately reminded of Smitten from the Winter Wonderland collection a couple of years ago, which I absolutely loved. That one is also an ultra metallic finish, but it is more of that foily, flaky kind that unfortunately tarnishes, and mine actually has faded to this kind of pink color, so definitely not dupes. I did also want to show this kind of color reference between Mooncat's Shattered Glass and Not Today Satan. Shattered Glass is more of like a blue-toned lavender, and Not Today Satan is like this soft baby pink, so you can see just how in the middle Frosted Rose is. I think the closest that I had to a dupe was Cirque Colors Clairvoyant, which is a magnetic, but you know, showing this unmagnetized, I feel like color-wise it's pretty spot on, and this one is described as a lavender purple with a metallic silver pigment, so definitely not dupes because it is missing that holo, but really close color-wise. Next for Forever, I wanted to quickly show this next to Holo Taco's Everything is Pine, which was one of their retired glitters. This is basically the same color as Foiled again, so just for reference. I think this shade is a lot closer to some other ILNP shades like Paradise, which was from last year's summer collection. That one's more of a true jelly, metallic, flaky kind of finish though, so there is a little bit of a difference visually aside from their color too, where Paradise is just a bit more vibrant, definitely the summer version of this color. Then I remembered Park Ave, which is a pretty recent addition to my collection. You may have remembered seeing this one in my Manhattan collection review, and while that one is holographic, it doesn't have any kind of foily metallic sort of finish, but color-wise, these are pretty close. I would say the closest to being dupes. So if you already have Park Ave, you might be able to layer a silver metallic flake over it. I did want to show these three shades next to each other because even though you saw them in the Skittle already, I feel like it's just a bit helpful to see them all side by side on the nail, because I feel a bit torn where I do love these colors, but part of me is feeling like maybe they were a little too similar to include, but it's also hard to pick favorites. Then for Snowkissed, I immediately had to see this next to Elsa, which was from the Winter Wonderland collection that I mentioned earlier. This is another super icy pale blue, but that one's even lighter. You can see it's like very silvery and also a lot more sheer. This is 2 coats of each, and you definitely get more of that blue base in Snowkissed. I did also want to show this next to Holo Taco's Hydropower, which is a blue linear holo, but that one's a little bit more of like a brighter cyan kind of shade, so definitely not dupes. I think color-wise, it's a little bit closer to Holo Taco's Crystal Skies, which was from that After Midnight collection. Obviously, that one's more of this chunky glitter formula, but color-wise, it's kind of close, maybe a little grayer. Then for Winter Dream, I knew I had to see this next to Shooting Star from the Cosmos collection. That one is a magnetic, but if you don't wear it magnetized, it does look pretty similar, especially color-wise. The main difference, I think, with Shooting Star is that it has a much more finer or maybe plainer kind of shimmer, while Winter Dream is a little bit more foily and metallic. Here's a quick color reference for Holo Taco's Overshadowed from their declassified set last winter. That one's a bit deeper, more steely navy. I think another pretty close one was Cirque Colors Cassiopeia, which again is a magnetic, but just doing 2 coats unmagnetized, I feel like these do have a really similar shimmer color where it's like that blue leaning lavender kind of color, but you can see the base color in Cirque is a lot more purple. And lastly, for Love Spell, I wanted to quickly show this next to Lily from that same Velvet collection I mentioned before, but as you can see, that one is just way too light to be a dupe. I did also immediately think of Cirque's Oracle, which is also another magnetic polish, but again, if you don't magnetize them, I feel like the shimmer kind of looks similar to these shimmery metallics from ILNP, but you know, not exact dupes by any means. You can see just how dark Oracle is compared to Love Spell. And then I thought that maybe Cirque's Cassiopeia was actually closer to Love Spell than it was to Winter Dream, since it had that more purple leaning base color. And it kind of is. I mean, obviously, again, these are not dupes by any means because they are just totally different finishes, where Cirque is missing the hollow, the foily metallic, but color-wise, they just were surprisingly similar. So that wraps up my swatches and comparisons for ILNP's Eternal collection. As always, I would love to know your thoughts on this release because I think I like these. They are just so icy and shiny with this almost mirror-like quality to them, which I think is common in their ultra metallic formulas, but I just love how soft they are. Like, I totally get those whimsical winter wedding kind of vibes. I can see a lot of people not loving this type of finish because, I don't know, there's something very like frosty to them almost. So I'd really love to know what you think of them, if you do like this type of finish or not. My only hope is that these are a bit more stable than some of their other ultra metallics, specifically the ones that are formulated like Smitten, where it's a little bit more foily, because very similar to Holo Taco's Frosted Metals, they just have a tendency to tarnish over time. It happened with my other shade, Bulletproof Symphony, which I had picked up last year, I think, for Black Friday. And even upon getting it, I feel like it already looked tarnished compared to what it was supposed to look like on the website. But even my bottle of Juliet, which was a beautiful rose gold kind of shade, just turned to this really dark bronzy kind of shade. So it's such a shame that that sort of finish just tarnishes because it really is so beautiful. But I do think that these have a different formula because they just look different than Smitten looked. So I am hopeful about that at least. I guess the only other thing that I'm still a little undecided on is having 3 shades be so similar to each other. I know it is like a winter collection and those 3 are definitely wintry shades, but I feel like sometimes ILNP does do that, especially with having like 2 blues where they're just a little too similar for my taste, but they're not exact dupes either. So It's kind of nice at the same time because you have like the option of choosing which one you prefer, but I can see it being more frustrating if you're planning on like picking up the whole collection and you don't necessarily want 2 blues. So I can't wait to hear what you think of these. If you do like them, they are going to be launching on Friday, November 1st, and will be available for a pre-order discount for 1 week. So let me know if you'll be picking any of them up, whether it's the whole collection or just 1 or 2 of them, or if you'll be skipping them entirely. I'd love to know your thoughts down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.